I did more to get rid of the BNP as a political force in Britain than anybody else in the country.
You amplified this misinformation.
No, Tom.
No, you did.
You were getting this wrong.
Said some reports suggest.
Give us clarity.
You didn't just say that, though, Nigel.
I did.
You also said the internet was awash with all sorts of theories, all of which proved to be unfounded.
Yes.
But that's what led to the riots in Southport. But you indulged in those theories.
By the way, I've still not been told whether this person was on a list or not. I don't know the answer to that. Do you?
No, I don't know. But that's why it's a legitimate question.
Do you think we deserve to know?
Absolutely. I think the police need to give us the answer.
So my question is still valid?
Your question is valid, but not in the way that you put it, because you know what you're doing. You suggested, some reports suggest, that he was known to the security service, that he came on in a boat, that he was an asylum seeker. That's not true.
And I didn't.
And my question to you is, did you know that was not true?
I don't know.
You're an intellectual, and yet, you're producing these books that are bestsellers. How do you cut it as an intellectual in Britain?
Well, we do have a very fine intellectual tradition in Britain,
but it's not respected.
I wouldn't say it's not respected. There is an enormous oddity about this country, which I think I could sum up as follows. The British are traditionally suspicious of ideas. And those of us who are right of centre or conservative thinkers have here a great conundrum. The British suspicion of ideas
because we muddle through.
Yes. The British suspicion of ideas, to a great extent, is itself a good idea. My late friend Roger Scruton was very eloquent on this point, because the innate instinct of somebody to be, for instance, concerned about ideas is in part a concern about utopians. You see, the continent has, in history, repeatedly fallen prey to utopian ideas, and the British people haven't historically liked that, and that is an enormous advantage. But of course, if you're interested in ideas yourself, then you have this conundrum. I would put it like this: the suspicion of grand ideas is a good suspicion to have, because when people come at you with an idea that they know better than you how you should live your life, you should run 1,000,000 miles.
Yes.
But sometimes,
I think I agree with that.
Sometimes you live in an era replete with terrible ideas, and it is not enough to say, I will just ignore them, because you're living among them. They surround you. They're in the air you breathe. They're what your children are being given at school.
That's why you're challenging them.
Yes. I think it is vital that the British public realise that their children are being given ideas that are rotten.
Douglas Murray shared with Nigel Farage his fears about the White Revolution taking place in England, the influence of ideas in universities, especially those considered harmful or wrong, is a growing concern in many societies, especially the UK. These ideas, often rooted in different ideological movements, can shape the perspectives of students and, by extension, the broader culture. The British education system therefore faces the challenge of not only educating students, but also equipping them with the tools to critically evaluate the ideas they encounter. Beginning critical thinking education early can help students avoid unthinking acceptance of ideas they may later encounter in higher education or society at large. This includes teaching them how to recognize logical fallacies, understand the importance of evidence, and engage in reasoned debate. It also involves encouraging curiosity and open-mindedness, so they can explore different perspectives without being influenced by peer pressure or popular opinion.
You began with a video in the immediate aftermath of the Southport stabbings that engaged in conspiracy theories about who did this and about whether the police were telling the truth. You said, and I'm quoting here, some reports suggest he, the man charged, was known to the security services. Which reports?
This is the problem, isn't it? One of the reasons the Southport riots were as bad as they were is we weren't told the truth. There were stories online from some very prominent folks with big followings, Andrew Tate, etc., suggesting the man had crossed the English Channel in a boat in October 2023. Other suggestions that he was an active Muslim. And much of this led to the riots that we saw.
But you amplified that because you said some reports suggest.
I asked a very simple question. Was this person known or not? Now,
to the security services.
Absolutely.
And that's a perfectly legitimate question, which was raised by Yvette Cooper. But, Nigel Farage, you didn't just do that, did you? You said some reports suggest he was known to the security services. Those reports were from a fake news website
Yep.
amplified by Russian state TV and, as you mentioned, Andrew Tate. Which ones were you looking at?
Which adds to what I was asking for. Give us some clarity. Remember, the London Bridge attacker, we knew within an hour that this person was known to the security services. Whenever in Northern Ireland there was a terrorist outrage, very quickly people were told the background of the perpetrator.
But you didn't
I
just
asked
stop
a
there.
very simple question.
You said some reports suggest he was known to the security services. Those reports were a fake news website, Russian state TV,
Well,
and
I could
Andrew
have said.
Tate.
I could have said.
So which one was it, Nigel Farage?
I could have said. Some reports suggest he crossed the Channel last October. Some reports suggest he's an active
And all of
Muslim.
that was unfounded.
I did none of those things. What I asked for was clarity. We didn't get clarity,
didn't
and
just
I
do
would
that.
argue that what happened in Southport would not have been of the same magnitude had the truth been told, and told very, very quickly. It wasn't for
You don't
many
need to
hours
amplify
that
the
we learnt more.
mistruths. No, you're right. But that was the chronology of it. But you don't need to amplify the mystery.
I asked the question.
To cite quotes, some reports suggest the reports are fake, and you accept that now. They're misinformation.
There were thousands of fake reports everywhere.
you cited
all
them.
of which puts the emphasis on the questions being answered, which they weren't.
So did you accidentally fall for that misinformation?
No, I didn't believe any of it.
Or did you know it was wrong from the get-go?
I hadn't got a clue.
So why did you cite it?
Because the people wanted to know the truth, and if they had known the truth, Tom, the riots would not have been of the same magnitude.
But you're not just people. You are an elected representative of the people in a position
representing
in a
a question
position of authority.
representing a question that was being asked by millions at the time, which regrettably did not get answered. Now look, here's the point. Right? There are people out there suggesting that in some way, despite after 30 years of fighting all sorts of different elections, of believing that the democratic process is the way to deal with arguments, debates, and solve problems. I have never been involved in street protest. I have never been involved in violence. I have always been 1,000 miles away.
Well, literally, in this case,
from
'cause I think you've been abroad.
far-right agitators, from conspiracy theorists. I've always been as far away from those people as I can possibly be.
Well, you had some in UKIP, which I think is one of the reasons why you left UKIP. Paul Waters.
Well,
Andrew Waters.
actually, I left UKIP after 25 years.
So back to what you
I left
said.
UKIP after 25 years because the leadership at the time encouraged Tommy Robinson to be a part of it. I
So
did
back to
more.
what you
I
said.
did more to get rid of the BNP as a political force in Britain than anybody else in the
You
country.
amplified this misinformation.
No,
Hang on a sec.
Tom.
No, you did.
You are getting
because
this
you
wrong.
said some
I
reports
said,
suggest.
give us clarity.
You didn't just say that, though, Nigel.
I did.
You also said the internet was awash with all sorts of theories, all of which proved to be unfounded.
Yes.
But that's what led to the riots in Southport. But you indulged in those theories
By the way,
that proved to be unfounded.
I've still not been told whether this person was on a list or not. I don't know the answer to
no
that.
one
Do
knows.
you?
No, I don't know. But
Do
so
you
that's
think
why
we-
it's a legitimate question.
Do you think we deserve to know?
Absolutely. I think the police need to give us the
So
answer.
my question is still valid.
Your question is valid, but not in the way that you put it, because you know what you're doing. You suggested some reports suggest that he was known to the security service, that he came on in a boat, that he was an asylum seeker. That's not true.
And I didn't.
And my question to you is, did you know that was not true?
Nigel Farage's comments about the Southport killer and his refusal to apologise have caused significant controversy, not least because they touch on sensitive issues relating to law enforcement, justice and social order. While the British government is implementing very unreasonable practices, the people are suffering because of these things. When a person commits terrible crimes but only receives 180 hours of community service, no jail time, and those who only commented on social media platforms had to spend 15 weeks in jail. This also speaks to why Nigel refused to apologize for his comments. Nigel Farage, known for his outspoken and often provocative statements, has questioned whether the police response to the Southport killer was influenced by external pressure or bias, or not. He suggested that police may be engaging in what he called two-tier policing, in which different groups in society are treated differently by law enforcement. This may imply that certain communities receive more lenient treatment, while others face harsher consequences depending on social background, race, or their politics.
We need to teach people critical thinking. You know, here's a problem, here are two solutions, you make your mind up which of these you agree with. And I think what we're now doing, and you've studied this more than me, but I think what we're doing is we're saying to people, here's a problem, here are two solutions. One is virtuous and good and one is evil. And we're not teaching, I mean, is that at the root of what's wrong with our universities? I mean, how bad is it in your view?
My view is that every age has a religious instinct. All people have religious instinct. In our own age, the religious instinct has been subsumed into a cultural religious instinct. People are being indoctrinated into a cult-like religion. They are being told what good behavior is and what bad behavior is, what a good person would be and what a terrible person looks like.
And this is in terms of attitude.
These are attitudes.
Not behaviours.
No, this is what's more, of course, because this is all part of the racket. What signals should you give off to demonstrate that you're in the good group?
Yes.
And what's more, what if you are in the group, say for instance you have the horrible tendency to have been a white male, for instance. What can you do to demonstrate you're not one of the evil group? Oh, well now, like the most hucksterish religion, you can demonstrate that you're a good person by showing solidarity with the latest croc cause. You can show that you're an ally of anything that you're meant to ally with today. You can say how shamed you feel. These all religious instincts. You can even pay your tithes. If you're a corporation, by the way, never mind the universities, you know that this mob might come for you. Cheapest way you can get out of it. Oh dear, we seem to be a bank that has a reputation for employing lots of men, for instance. Well, why don't we just pay our tithes to Black Lives Matter and get over it?
Paying the Danegeld is what
paying the Danegeld. Yeah. So this is what's happened. We've got a new morality, a new religion that has come in this country. I've tried to identify it for years, and this is the clearest example of it.
The emergence of new ethics and changes in religious beliefs reflect the changing context of society. As traditional values and norms are increasingly questioned, new ideas about what constitutes good and bad behavior are being propagated, often through the media, education, and popular culture. Yet, amid these changes, the power of truth remains a vital force that can overcome confusion and bring clarity. In this complex context, the concept of truth becomes more important than ever. Truth, especially when grounded in evidence, reason, or spiritual belief, has the power to cut through the noise of competing moralities and ideologies. It can provide a stable foundation on which individuals and societies can build an understanding of right and wrong. The challenge, however, lies in discerning the truth in a world where information is abundant but often contradictory. With the rise of misinformation and the relativization of truth, navigating the complexities of modern ethics and religion has become increasingly difficult.
I don't know now whether this man was known to the
So
police
why are
or
you
not.
promoting those reports?
Because I want to know the truth. I wanted to know it then, and I want to know it now. And I get the feeling we're not always being told the whole truth.
Okay, let's come to that, because you also said that. You wondered whether, and I'm quoting again, the truth about Southport was being withheld from us. What evidence do you have that the police are lying to people?
The evidence was withheld on Southport. Had we been told very quickly, as we could have been, that in fact this fella had been born in the United Kingdom, that his parents were Rwandans, that he didn't come from an Islamist type background, had we been told he hadn't arrived by boat, I suggest to you that what happened that night in Southport would not have been of the same magnitude. Would you not agree?
I've got no idea.
Would you not agree?
That's a counterfactual.
Well, if you think...
What evidence do you have, Nigel Farage, that police are misleading people?
I don't know.
Well, so why did you say it? Why did you say the truth about Southport is being withheld from us?
You tell me whether this man was on the suspect list or not. You don't know the answer to it. Don't we deserve to know it?
But that's not to say that people are lying.
To know it.
That's to say that we don't know. You don't know yet. So you could just wait rather than tell people.
Well,
that the police might be lying.
I've now waited nearly a week, and I've still not been, and that question has still not been answered.
So what evidence did you? Back to my question. You have no evidence that the police are withholding information.
It is utterly legitimate to ask questions.
It is
utterly legitimate, and that is all that I did.
But not having an answer and filling the silence with "they're lying to you" is not legitimate.
I don't believe we're being told the full truth yet about this person. I want to know. I think we all want to know.
So the police are lying?
I didn't say that. Not telling the truth is not the same as lying.
The truth about Southport was being withheld from us. Do you still think the truth is being withheld by the police from the people?
I still don't know who this man is.
Truth that you thought people already knew because you cited some reports saying that he come on a boat.
Who this man is, and I repeat the point, had those questions been answered, far from stoking riots, it would have actually calmed them down considerably.
But you allowed it to be.
Farage's concerns about violent riots were tied to his wider criticism of the state of law and order in Britain. The country has seen increased social unrest, with protests and riots breaking out in response to a variety of issues, including police actions, political decisions, and economic inequality. Farage appears to be arguing that failure to enforce the law fairly could exacerbate these tensions, leading to more violence and unrest. Farage's assertion of two-tier policing taps into a wider debate in the UK about fairness and equality in law enforcement. Critics of the police have argued that certain communities, often ethnic minorities or those with less social influence, may not receive the same level of protection or justice as other communities. Another coin. Farage's comments suggest this perception could damage public trust in the police, potentially leading to further social unrest. Farage's refusal to apologize has attracted both support and criticism. His supporters say he is merely expressing concerns that many people have about the integrity of law enforcement and the judicial system. On the other hand, critics accuse him of stoking division and undermining trust in the police during the crisis. For their part, the police often find themselves in the difficult position of having to balance the need to maintain public order with the need to enforce the law fairly and objectively. Farage's criticism also reflects broader concerns about how authorities handle the complexities of modern society, where issues of race, class, and identity intersect with the need for the rule of law and order. The outcome of this debate could have important implications for the future of policing and governance in the UK.